Hey guys, my name's Gavin and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make more realistic sounding fake guitar beats inside of FL Studio. And yeah, follow me on Instagram if you haven't already at gavinhadley_. Download my LOOPKit, my new one. There's going to be a link down in the description. You can go download it for free. Yeah, also I'm working on another YouTube channel, so I'm kind of just all over the place right now, but let's get into it. So basically the first tip that I can give when you're making realistic guitar beats is to use realistic guitar VSTs, probably not one shots. I mean, you could, but I recommend actual VSTs that have some sort of an algorithm to them. So Ample Guitar is really good. It has the algorithm, like it makes the guitar sound more realistic by adding in different elements, like when your hands slide up and down the guitar, different stuff like that. But for this video, I'm using the Evolution Modern Nylon Guitar Bank from Contact, and personally, I think that that's the best sounding guitar available for VST wise. Yeah, so that's what I'm using in the video, and I'm gonna share with you some tips that I use when you know what I mean. So let's get into the first one. Let me unmute everything except this. So when I make these guitar melodies, I actually split the guitar melody up into different instances of the guitar. So first we have this bass progression right here, and it's just, we're in F sharp, and it's just going down the scale. Let me actually put it in the right scale here so you can see that a little bit better. So we're just going right down the scale and then right back up to this F sharp and then back down the scale again. And I just wanted to create like a cascading downward motion with this melody, so that's kind of why I did that. And then after that, it was just me picking out different notes that were not necessarily chords, but they were like spaced out from each other. So you have a C sharp here, and then these E's creating some sort of rhythm, and then this A. So I just kind of picked those out. Originally, when I made this melody, this was looping. This part was looping for 4 bars. And also, this melody is actually in my loop kit as well, so if you want to use it and make your own beat out of it, it's in there. I just thought I'd throw that out there. But this pattern right here was just looping for 4 bars, and then I just went and lowered these notes and lowered these notes as well, just trying to make something like that sounds like it's going downward. Make sure it has a sense of direction, and also a little bit of rhythm with these. So that's what it sounds like. And then this is counter melody countering this right here. The response or the calls right here. And then with these, I lowered, when you're using the Contact Evolution Modern Nylon guitar, sometimes the notes kind of fizzle out and they're not as loud for whatever reason. And an easy way to fix that is to just highlight all of them and then do Alt and then right on your keyboard to move them over. But for this, I thought that I kind of like the way they fizzle out. You can hear these kind of just like get lower in volume, and I thought that made it sound a little bit more realistic, and also just gave it a unique element. So going down the scale here and back up, you can barely hear this note. I feel like it's key to do those because it makes it sound a little bit more like humanly played out. It has a little bit of flaws, which is good when you're making these guitar melodies because you can't play a guitar perfectly. And then this really makes it, really seals the deal for me. When you play a guitar, especially when you're using something like the leading tone right here, which is the note below the root note in the Aeolian scale, so it's an F. When you're using this note, it's really dark, and by having the velocities on these kind of cranked up a little bit, it made it sound a little bit more picked out and just more like aggressive. You'll hear what I mean. Yeah, and then that just loops over again. Pretty simple pattern. Hopefully I explained it all right. I just did Alt R on my keyboard to randomize everything, and this is a pretty like crazy randomize. Normally I don't do as much, but for this beat, this was a pretty loud guitar, so I wanted to balance in more quiet elements with the loud guitar that was playing, just to balance everything out and make it sound a little bit more realistic, because I thought it sounded pretty realistic. So after that, I just put cassette on it. I always use this preset. I think it makes it sound more sampled. It's the inside bass side preset. Stability all the way up, static all the way down. And then after that, I moved on to the second guitar, which is doing another melody over the first one. So yeah, it's just using notes in the scale again, going I like using notes that the same note like multiple times next to each other. I feel like that's something that some producers shy away from for whatever reason, but definitely don't shy away from it. Gives like a nice repetitive element into the melody, so that's what it sounds like. So it's barely audible. I'm gonna play it by itself. And this ending sequence right here did a good job synergizing with the leading tone that I talked about at the beginning right here. Did a good job mixing with that, in my opinion. Yeah, so there's not much to say about that. For the most part, when I make my counter melodies or just top melodies in general, there's no music theory whatsoever intertwined in it. And this isn't really even a video about making melodies as much as it is sharing about how to make the guitar sound more realistic. So what we're talking about that, I added these F sharps right here, which if you're in the Evolution Modern Nylon, they serve as like a slap. So it's like adding a slap in. That's just like a no-brainer. It makes it sound a little bit more humanized. And yeah, after that, I didn't add anything onto this. I liked it how it was, but as we move on here, these other elements that I add really make it sound more realistic after I post-process it and stuff. So moving on, we just have this, actually it was originally a guitar, believe it or not, but I added a bunch of effects on it because I didn't think we needed more guitars. So it sounds really distorted, like futuristic, but it's really tucked in the back. Like when you listen to the sample, you don't really notice it all that much. But to do that, I put a little alter boy on it, cranked the pitch all the way up, and then I added a bunch of reverb to it. So that's how I did that. And really, as you're watching this video, I feel like right now the main keys to getting your guitars to sound more realistic is obviously, like I said, using a realistic guitar VST, and also experimenting with your velocities and just the way that you play your notes. Make sure not everything is perfectly on the grid. Alright, so moving on, I thought that this sample lacked a little bit of low end, so I added an Omnisphere piano. Instead of using a bass, sometimes I like to add pianos into my sample, because I like the low end that they have, and also how it kind of ties in and brings in a little bit more mid frequencies as well. Like a normal sine bass doesn't really have that, but they both have their place. So I just followed the root notes, and I'm down here a few octaves, so it's just low, like a bass. Just fills out the low end. So then after that, I added in this other counter melody. It's really tucked in the background. It's kind of hard to hear, so I'm just going to play it with the guitars and then this. But basically, I was just trying to counteract the previous guitar melodies that I made. But I didn't want to do anything over the top, too noticeable, and I feel like there's a lot of notes playing here, but a way to kind of counteract a bunch of stuff going on, in my opinion, is like adding reverb and just dousing it in reverb. It makes it so some of the notes are a little bit softer, like these C sharps serve as kind of like a passing tone almost when the reverb is acting on them. So it just makes it feel like less stuff's going on if you can't really hear as much because it's all drenched in reverb. So yeah, this is what it sounds like. I thought this G sharp did a good job transitioning back down to the F. I can't really explain why. It's all just comes down to my ear. So yeah, that's that. And to get that effect, like I was talking about, I just doused it in reverb. That's really all I did. And after that, I just added in my own vocal. Put a lot of auto-tune on my voice, and that's what it sounds like. Pitch myself up, and it sounds a little bit distorted. I thought that did a good job of wrapping up the sample and transitioning it to the beginning again. After that, I rendered everything out to audio files right here. These are the two audio files. And now this is where the guitar gets to sound a little bit more realistic as we begin our post-processing. So this is the sample. I pitched it down a semitone, which made the scale into an F minor now. And this is what it sounds like. And to achieve this, it sounds fine before the effects are added onto it, but Basically, I just took out a little bit of the low frequencies and boosted the highs, which make the high strings on the guitar a little bit more present. And I feel like when you listen to like crisp guitar recordings, they all have like really crisp high end. And I think that the VSTs and stuff are fine, but when you bounce them out and add a little bit more high end on it, it just makes it sound a little bit more crisp. So that's why I did that. And then I also use Ozone 8 Elements a lot. This is probably an older version of Ozone now. I think there's a new one, but I just use this one because it's what I have. I think I just used like the default. I did like an auto mix. You can have it play and it'll detect what's going on. I was just messing around with it, and I just lowered the overall mix of it so it was less present, which made it sound just a little bit more crisp. This is what it sounds like without. Then with. So it's a little bit louder. There's a little bit more high frequencies going on. And yeah, so then this part is what really sealed the deal for me, at least. Just duplicated it over, and then I put it down an octave, and then I added these effects. So an EQ, which takes out a lot of the low end. So it sounds kind of counterintuitive, like you pitch it down, and then you take out the low end, like what? But it's really just capturing the mid frequencies then, just in a lower octave, if that makes sense. And I just added micro shift and then turned down the blend. So yeah, this is what it sounds like by itself. And then with. But yeah, to recap again, one more time, make sure you're using good guitar VSTs. Make sure that you are experimenting with your note placement, not just following by the grid, really getting in within the grid and doing elaborate note changes like these, stuff like that. Make sure you're randomizing, using elements that the guitar comes with, like the note slides and stuff when you're sliding up the guitar. That kind of stuff. It's really all what it comes down to. I feel like sound selection is definitely the most important thing, which is kind of a no-brainer, but I feel like it gets overlooked a lot when people use like Omnisphere guitars and stuff. So yeah, that's about it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that you were able to learn a little bit today, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.